Welcome back. It's Intro to Physical Anthropology. I'm your instructor, David Leitner. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the reasons that evolution might have selected for, natural selection might have selected for big brains and intelligence. It's not as self-evident as you might think it is. So, without further ado, let's find out. So, one of the paradoxical things about big brains and evolution is that brains make up 2% of your body mass as a human being. Okay? Not very much. But they're responsible for taking up 20%, anywhere from 16 to 20% of the energy you use in a day. That is a significant energetic cost. All right? Growing bigger brains uses more energy. And in evolutionary terms, there are other trade-offs that come with it as well. It means you have to find more food to eat, higher quality foods with lots of protein. In order to finish cooking our brains, they have to have parental, though usually maternal, investment for, anywhere from 14 to 24 years, They are a very costly thing to have, not just for the individual, but for the individual's group as well. So why on earth would they be a benefit in terms of evolution? They put all of these new obligations on you. Let's figure out what human brains are good for, and maybe that'll give us a clue. Well, three of the things that they're good for, three very important things, are tool making, for sure, language, communication, and executive function, planning, social intelligence, all of that stuff. These are also the things that underpin sociality, are the fact that we are social beings and that we live in cultures. Now, the bulk of the brain size increase in Homo sapiens comes in the prefrontal cortex, and that site has some associations with social intelligence. That's not all it does. It does a bunch of other things too, like executive function, like planning, that sort of thing. A lot of communication that sort of starts there. There are other indicators, though, that social intelligence might be something that's changing over the past couple of million years. First of all, we start seeing a slight increase in group size, possibly closer knit groups. We eventually start seeing evidence of hunting. Hunting is a intensely cooperative group activity. Now, that said, chimpanzees can go on hunts that are highly coordinated as well. So it takes communication, doesn't necessarily take language. Fire probably drew people together in the evenings. Tools. The interesting thing about the tools is that it's hard to teach stone tool making just by copying what another person's doing. There's some, especially once you get beyond the Alduin industry there. The need to communicate the qualities of materials, how to listen for flaws, how to feel the vibrations in the rock, all of that, are not easily conveyed unless you're trying to pass this on. This is a big difference in most primate learning versus human learning, is there's much more deliberate transmission and correction that goes on in human learning. We also start to see with a lot of these tools eventually, first, consistency across long distances, which means these traditions are being passed on and shared on a regular basis. And then we start seeing local sort of specializations and cultural variation. Sociality is absolutely necessary for culture. We know we have these complex cultures now. and they depend on the fact that there are other people. So let's look for some more sort of physical evidence that we can point to. One great piece of evidence, I think, is Turkana Boy. His proper name is actually Nariokotomi Boy, for the region that he was found. He's a young Homo erectus, lived about 1.5 to 1.6 million years ago, died somewhere between the ages of 7 and 11, but would have been an adolescent or young adult at that point, probably more of an adolescent. Lots of signs of disease. Possible scoliosis. Some people have speculated he may have suffered from some kind of congenital dwarfism, though it's not clear. There certainly is, however, signs of a massive infection in his mandible. So he had an incredibly abscessed tooth. It was bad enough, it probably would have kept him from being able to chew his own food. I don't know if any of you have had an abscessed tooth or an exposed tooth or anything like that. It is, it's awful. It's awful. It's absolutely awful trying to get food down your throat when you've got one of those. Cause of death is disputed. There are a couple of possibilities. First, that abscess was really bad. The chances he got septicemia, that is an infection in the blood. So the infection spreads from the localized sort of infection in the bone, and it goes into the blood system and then travels throughout the body, spreading the infection. There's a very good possibility he died that way, in which case he would have been experiencing massive fevers in his last days, aches, pains. It would not have been a fun way to die. The other possibility is that he suffered some sort of trauma to his lumbar vertebrae. The abscessed tooth doesn't happen overnight. An abscessed tooth takes a long time to come on, and during that time you're going to need to be taken care of. It's clear from the possible problems with his spinal cord or spinal column and other issues. He probably needed some help from others in order to survive. And that is what's really interesting. Okay? If he's living with great mobility and eating issues, he's going to need support from other people. That indicates a kind of sociality we don't necessarily see as often in other primates as we do in modern humans. Okay. Of course, caring for others has an advantage for the entire group. All right, there's something about kin selection going on here, but also the sharing of tool making may require a little more than just copying and grunting when you approve of what someone's doing. Right, it takes a little bit more. The long and the short of it is the reason we developed this this increased sociality is because we were also developing not just a reliance on each other, but we were in the beginning stages probably of starting to develop culture. I will talk about culture next in the next video, but this is the take home here. Probably the main reason brains started growing was for social reasons, was for living and cooperating in larger groups, not for making the tools themselves, although it would have helped. And in fact, actually, we see the tools before we get massive increases in brain size. So it may not be the tools themselves so much as the tools might be a side effect of the social intelligence. The tools are further enabled, in other words, by being able to transmit knowledge from one person to another. I'm going to leave it there for now, and we'll pick up in the next video with what culture is and why it's relevant here. Until next time, take care of yourself, have a great week, and I'll see you soon.